We're in Verdict Watch, the Cody Posey murder trial. Let's go right to some of your emails. Gail from Washington writes, Cody Posey saw his father, stepmom, and stepsister as a unit. Not one of them offered him any compassion, and he saw them as a unit of hate, anger, and betrayal. He needs help, not condemnation. Dean Johnson, any truth to that?
Well, you know, I think that's one of the most clever arguments that the defense raised, is to treat these three people as sort of a corporate entity who were undertaking the enterprise of abuse against Cody. I don't think it's going to work. I mean, the jury might very well mitigate this thing by finding imperfect self-defense as to Paul Posey. But as I said before, the law doesn't yet allow for collateral damage, and besides, it's not what Cody said. What Cody said is the reason he shot his stepsister was because she was a witness and he didn't want her to tell on him or nothing, and that's, you know, that's thinking, that's deliberation, and that's premeditation. So I don't think that argument works.
All right, but Lisa, I see you nodding. You know, there were testimony of kids, other kids who said that they and Mary Lee would follow Cody around at school, try to find him doing something wrong so that Mary Lee would have information to use against him, and his behavior would change dramatically. He'd become sullen and withdrawn when she came around. Doesn't that mean something?
So she deserves to have her head blown.
Of course she doesn't
and
deserve it.
But Lisa, that's ridiculous. When a 14-year-old boy kills a child in the house that he was raised with, there's something wrong with that's sociopathic behavior. The fact that this kid was telling people he was going to kill his family, that he knew he could have done other things, he could have reported them, but instead he killed them all and then buried in the manure out of anger and petulance and rage.
That's, Lisa, the argument the prosecution made in summation, the same argument that Lisa was sitting here a few minutes ago condemning, because it was devoid of any passion, any understanding of what this young boy went through. Let's not pretend we're going to evaluate him as a normal human being who would just kill his family and should be, you know, hung out to dry. I mean,
because
this is a
14.
kid, this is a child, number one, a child who lived a life that no one should ever have to live, who absolutely had some mental, you know, effects based on this lifestyle that he lived and the lifestyle that he was subjected to. So this jury is grappling with that. I mean, the fact that the sister was killed is clearly the worst fact for this defense. We've talked about it.
The severity of this abuse is what I think makes a difference from other so-called abuse excuse cases. All right, let's get another one. Martha from Maine says, I think Cody Posey has conned everyone. We were spanked regularly and most of us turned out just fine. Now you can't even say no to a child without someone yelling child abuse. I don't see any feeling even when he was on the stand, and if he gets off, he will think that killing is an acceptable way to deal with situations that bother him, and he will do it again. Paula Canny, if he's acquitted, is he going to learn there's no consequences even for homicide?
I absolutely disagree. I mean, in terms of what he has experienced in his life has been absolutely miserable. And one of his coping mechanisms has been to turn himself off emotionally. What was he going to do after his father, like, threatened to cut off his testicles? Cry? No. If he would have done that, worse things would have happened. So his shutting down emotionally is a coping mechanism. And the truth of it is, at least in the state of California, as it relates to girls who've committed matricide or patricide, when they go to the youth authority, the special program, it has the lowest recidivism rate of any program because they give the girls treatment in recognition of the fact that they're reacting to either physical and or sexual abuse perpetrated upon them.
And he's already served 2 years, don't forget about that. But Carolyn, my experience in talking to jurors is they look at the defendant very, very closely when he's on the stand, or even if he's just sitting there at counsel table while others are testifying. What about the lack of emotion from Cody Posey? How do you think the jurors will interpret that?
I think that's exactly what they're looking at, and I think they're going to be discussing what you were just discussing here. Is the lack of emotion part of his psychoses, if you will, or is the lack of emotion something less palpable, less sympathetic? Is it really that he's a little more cold-blooded and deserves to be punished? Or is it not even that clear-cut? Is it gray? But they do look at your behaviors, like I said, during and after, immediately after the crime, years after the crime. I think most people are looking for some sort of remorse, no matter when it comes. If you're saying that you snapped, which basically means you feel in your own mind that you are balanced, when you do realize what you've done, I think we are looking to see someone fall apart and see a tremendous amount of remorse, and when they don't, that can be interpreted, well, in several different ways.
And sometimes defendants can't win. If they cry, then we say, they're phony. If they have an outburst, we say they have no respect for the court. And if they sit calmly through the proceedings, we say, oh, they're cold and unfeeling, perhaps sociopaths. Paula Canny, Dean Johnson, Carolyn Robbins-Manley, Joe Tacopina, Lisa Pinto, and Beth Karras, thank you all so much. Next, he spent years behind bars for raping a child, and he didn't do it. Hear his story after this quick break. Stay with us.
Every weeknight at 8, Court TV's got an all-new lineup. It's all real, exciting, and dramatic. Court TV Red. Every weeknight at 8, the different shit.